I've been lightly addicted to blueprints over the past couple of days. A simple roguelike puzzle game isn't typically what I'd be into, but it's got some real smarts about it. The goal of the game is simple: reach the antechamber at the top, and you do so by drafting different rooms with different layouts that give you better or worse chances of making it to the top. It's a game that's mostly about risk management, but what keeps it all together is the puzzle aspect on top of it. Many, but not all, rooms have little puzzles connected to them, and succeeding in them helps you to complete tasks further down the line. It becomes a game about understanding a lot of little rules and intuition, and for it succeeds massively. It also has some extremely glaring flaws, but I think that shows up much deeper into the game, and is still good in spite of those flaws. I'd recommend at the very least giving it a go. I doubt it's for everyone, even if you are a fan of roguelikes, but for me it's looking like one of the highlights of the year. And this is a game that I told a friend, don't look anything up, go in blind. I should not have done this. I have a problem with the phrase "go in blind" when it comes to recommending games on a purely anecdotal basis. I don't exactly have any data to prove this, but in most cases where I've been told to go in blind, it's for good faith reasons of wanting to keep parts of the media a secret, but instead it backfires in small but notable ways. I finally got around to Outer Wilds last year, a game I was repeatedly told to go in blind to. I didn't even read the Steam store page, so steadfast were people to tell me that I should know as little as possible before going in. In retrospect, Outer Wilds is a game that I've thought about probably twice a month since finishing it. It's genuinely incredible, but when I finally hit the end of the game, in the moment, I couldn't help but think, is that it? People's insistence on not reading into the game had bloated my expectations to the point where I couldn't see its value for what it really was there and then. Outer Wilds is a light space exploration game with a couple of puzzle elements. As you go from planet to planet, you learn about the people who live there, and more importantly to your mission that was set out by your home planet's museum, the people who lived there. What people often find remarkable is the game's unique approach to puzzles that manages to not just balance the elements of exploration, but unify an open world with puzzles. This is a fairly mundane description for the game, but one that will give you a decent idea of what you're in for. If I had been told this, I would have tempered my expectations, and been a bit more open to being blown away by an experience that never fully moves beyond its simple premise. It does go to, quite frankly, incredible places. There's a reason I can't remove it from my brain. But because I was told to go in blind, the moment, or moments, where it really sweeps you off of your feet didn't come with the aspect of surprise that it should have. People's reason for saying it makes a lot of sense though. Outer Wilds has a bit of a portal problem, where once you've finished the game you can never truly replay it in the way that it was intended, not because of the mechanics that you gain, but the knowledge that you as a person possess. When I was told to go in blind, though it helped to keep me uninformed, it also braced me for excellence. The crux of my problem with the phrase "go in blind" comes down to removing a lot of the surprise in moments that will take your breath away. I did go in blind to Before Your Eyes, and for it was delivered a great use of its gimmick where your webcam is constantly checking for your blinking, which is incorporated with an extremely tender story that I don't think will ever fully leave me. It's a game that, due to its short 2-hour nature, you really should be as uninformed as possible and finish it in one sitting. This description, however, has the same problem as the phrase "go in blind." It emotionally braces the listener or reader or your friend for something. You're likely to be taken aback by the game, but the surprise will be gone. An extremely tender story that I don't think will ever truly leave me is a statement that obscures what might happen in the game but peels back an aspect of its mystery. There's enough information there to intuit that something, at some point, will tug at your heartstrings a little. What's unfortunate is that just this statement decreases the likelihood of this being the case for the viewer. Shock might be considered cheap, but it's often a good way to emphasize an emotion that follows. A shocking headline heightens the fear that comes from it and increases the reader's emotional investment. From a corporate perspective, that allows you to make more money from a reader who might go on to click an article, but for a storyteller, the value is less insidious. It's an important tool for writers when considering emotional beats, but implicitly requires the reader to have their guard down. Go In Blind attempts to keep that mystery alive, but paradoxically reveals the mystery's own existence in the first place. If I told you that somewhere in my house there's an image that you might not like, and then you found my framed Mario Goatsy, you'd have a lot less of a reaction than if you'd simply stumbled across the image without warning. This is why I shouldn't have told my friend "go in blind." It both reveals too much of what the experience might be, while also setting expectations high. Since my expectation of Blueprints was a light puzzle roguelike with some secrets to find, I went in with my expectations at the right level. And if you haven't played it, I'd recommend stopping the video now to consider whether the game's right for you, since I'm about to spoil a lot of the solutions that are integral to the game's fun. Okay? You've been warned. With those expectations leveled, I was ready to be blown out of the water with the larger puzzles outside of the house, new isolated puzzles, overarching puzzles, puzzles that require me to play the roguelike in specific ways to engage with puzzles outside of the roguelike. Being taken aback by just how deep the rabbit hole goes was incredibly important to how much I've been enjoying it. And the shock from how puzzles come together draws me into an extremely well-written story about warring factions and ideals. However, it's also that shock and uncertainty of where to stop expecting the unexpected that's pushing me through some of the game's more abrasive problems. Since you're required to play the roguelike to complete puzzles, you have the problem where you're slamming your head at runs looking for specific outcomes that multiple times cannot be solved just because the seed didn't give you what you needed to finish the puzzle. This is a huge problem with the game, which thanks to the game's paced out reveals, I've been able to overlook and even to an extent embrace. These flaws are just a part of the experience that I need to move alongside instead of fighting against. I'm willing to give the game a fair shot, even when I'm tempted to look stuff up online, because the game has kept me level with expectations. I remember a specific instance in Outer Wilds where, after about 20 minutes of being lost on a specific section, I just started to look up the solution because the go in blind recommendation had me overly eager to see what other people were so excited about. Thankfully, I was lost at a fairly inconsequential moment, but there are multiple points in the game where, in retrospect, had I gotten stuck, I would have ruined some of the game's best reveals. Even without having completed Blueprints, which is your indication to not put spoilers in the comments, I can tell you that if I'd been told to go in blind, there would have been multiple points where curiosity would have gotten the better of me before I'd figured it out organically. I think go in blind runs the risk of altering people's perspective going into any game, but especially in the case of Outer Wilds, Blueprints, and any other game that primarily acts as a puzzle box that is encased by a video game, it's potent in its ability to peel away the mystery. Instead, what I should have done for my friend is recommended it on the basis that the game sets out for you. These games still create incredible surface layers. The roguelike of Blueprints is unique to the point where you could sell it purely on how different it is from its contemporaries. Outer Wilds is a fantastic little exploration game that fulfills a discover unique and interesting planets idea in a way that no other experience can. Recommending a game on its surface layer might not be true to what you love about it, but it's still true to what the experience is, and to share your emotion with someone else, it's probably best to let the experience speak for itself without attempting to hide what's already hidden.